What's happening? Oh, going live. Okay.
See if I can bring that up. There you go.
Yeah.
Just need to move. Oh, no, come here. Get back.
Do we need to go to the event or the stage?
No, I think we will.
Is it the stage?
We're live.
Hello.
Yeah, we are live. We are live.
Live.
Yes. So, welcome everyone. This is JP Cameron and my colleague Sophie. We are presenting on behalf of NCS Trust, and we welcome you today to our quick run through of From Office to Couch in a very short period of time, 2 weeks. And basically, yeah, we're going to run you through our deck. Sorry. There we go. Yeah, I'm going to run you through our deck and basically just actually take you through the journey that we actually went for NCS Trust to actually move our colleagues and our partner network into a COVID-friendly environment. If we can possibly leave questions till the end of the deck so that we can actually definitely get your questions answered, that would be fantastic. But yeah, so we will crack on. So first and foremost, I would like to say thank you to our actual sponsors who actually without them, we would not have actually managed to make this event happen. Dedicated people to actually and companies enabling these events to happen and bring us all together to support and collaborate with each other. So the content today, we're going to have a quick intro, just explain a little bit about ourselves, a little about the company and just what we faced, the setting the scene. We will look at the challenges we faced, our commitments. These were the values that we had to work towards whilst we did everything else that we needed to do. We will then move on to making the most of our Salesforce org and the tools that we had at our fingertips to facilitate what we needed to do. And then we will have a lessons learned. We did learn a few lessons and have a home checklist. And finally, we will sum things up. Jofi and myself will swap over at times as we cover expertise and areas of our own special interest. So we have a quick intro about ourselves. This deck will be shareable, so if anyone actually wants to read about our lives and who we are, that you can do this at some other time at your leisure. The one thing I wanted to concentrate and just draw your attention to is that NCS has a very diverse recruitment background. So the actual skill sets and the actual history of who we are, just within the IT department and within the actual whole company itself, is very varied. So we bring a lot of skills, expertise to what we actually are trying to achieve on a day-to-day basis. And all of these came into play with what we had to do with this particular challenge. So a diverse user base using everything that you physically needed to know, your experience as well, to actually achieve that. So quick thing about NCS itself, we've been going since 2009. We started off with roughly about 150 young people between 16 and 17-year-olds. We have now had over 600,000 young people in England to actually attend NCS. We had over 40,000 young people sign up for the 2020 summer events that we were doing. And these were programs where normally young people would meet and go on outbound courses, would share events together, would collaborate together in close-knit groups of large sizes to actually achieve personal goals. The whole point here is to actually try and improve our young people's personal skills, their knowledge about social cohesion, about the world around them and the politics, and really just actually build their confidence about what they will then actually take away for moving on to university, moving on to school and such as well. Key point here to focus on is the fact that a lot of what we normally try and deliver is actually outside, bringing large groups of people together. So you can probably guess what I'm going to say next. Oh, we had over 44,000 young people signed up to do our actual course for 2020. This was happening at the end of 2019, the beginning of the year. So this was before everything kicked off and went the way it did. We have over 120 delivery partners, recruitment partners, and third-party accommodation suppliers who work with us to deliver these programs, who are all involved in this delivery. So every single one of these companies, as well as NCS Trust, the core, were affected by COVID when it kicked off. We have a national contact center as well. So again, that was affected too. Young people and their parents normally pay a standard fee to actually attend and go on these events and the courses that we actually run. So we faced monies being recorded at schools, so third-party arm's length, at delivery partners on the ground, so small football clubs, you name it, dealing with this, who were holding funds for an event or events that suddenly couldn't happen because COVID-19 was causing all the restrictions. We suddenly went into lockdown. What we also faced then was we had home security. We had a lot of staff, both internal and external in the network, who had never worked from home before. They had never had to deal with the problems of working in a non-office environment. They'd never tried to actually attempt what they were trying to do at their home in shared accommodation, wherever they were. So suddenly we faced a whole host of issues and problems to get these people up and running in a very short space of time in a very safe and secure way. We also, as most people will know, we faced a mass furloughing of staff. So because of the companies that we work with, lots of those companies actually had to put a lot of their staff on furlough. So suddenly our user base had to reduce dramatically. But that wasn't the end of it, because as we know, the mass furloughing then changed. We then had some companies going back to work. So we had to reactivate people. We then had more tiering going on, so we had more furloughing going on. So we had a user base that was physically bouncing back and forth between active, inactive, who was on, who was off as well. So we're having to keep on top of that, which was a very focused attempt as well. We finally also faced the problems of working from home in terms of actual security, in terms of data handling, sensitive information handling, and also not being able to access their offices to actually do standard functions like issuing refunds via a checkbook, or actually physically going to a school to work out who held the money there. So lots of change, lots of issues that we actually faced. I'm going to pass over to my colleague Jofi now.
Thanks, JP. So as JP just summarized, like we were April last year, we went into lockdown and we were told to stay at home from one day to another. And we had to work from our kitchen table, our bedrooms, or even our couch. And working virtually for most people, and also for our delivery partners, was a foreign concept. And the changing condition put a lot of pressure us internally and also on our partners to deliver from their comfort, or many times from the discomfort of their homes. So we had to navigate in a constantly changing environment where parts of the country were moving into lockdowns, staff were furloughed, and like all this restriction imposed a lot of pressure on us, and like on our personal life and on our professional lives as well. So when many things are up in the air, it's very difficult to stick to a plan. So it was important to stay agile, and we often had to stop, think and replan. But we were always focused on our main goals, which is on the next slide, which were just to make sure that our charity partners can continue delivering NCS without much interruption, and also keeping promises and deliver value to young people and parents, and also keep young people and parents' data secure. And we can go on to the next one. So what did we do? Because we had to support people immediately, we didn't have months to develop brand new Salesforce functionalities, so we had to work mainly what we already had. I'm not trying to butter them up, but Salesforce allowed us to change a lot of things with limited resources, and also allowed us to switch from an on-site weighted program delivery to a digital present where we could still deliver great content to our young people. Like as JP mentioned, we work with around 120 organizations, which means around 2,000 Salesforce users. And it was really important to keep them up to date and communicate with them on a daily basis. So we use Chatter as the main tool for communication, which is a great platform for connecting and engaging our users instantly. It was the easiest way to disseminate information to a large network of people. So at the beginning, when we moved to home working, we created a Chatter group, and we used it to announce like all our scheduled updates, give information about upcoming releases, share release notes. We also used it for collaboration, so people could ask us questions, and all our partners can also talk to each other and help each other out with Salesforce issues, which meant that we could reduce the number of cases that were coming to our support team. Chatter is also a great platform for file sharing, so we used it for disseminating all our training materials, also the recording of our demos, process changes, and we also organized our weekly calls with the network there, and we used it for organizing user acceptance testing. It was important to keep our partners engaged and motivated. So we often use the pause function just to ask how everybody is feeling, and also just to ask just to get some feedback about what can we improve. So JP mentioned that like most of our network was also working from home. And as soon as we knew that our summer programs are cancelled, we had to, and they couldn't, they were cancelled, but they couldn't, they weren't running in their original formats. So we had to start thinking about refunding the parents, because it was not the program that we promised, and we had to give their money back as soon as possible in these very uncertain times. So the main challenge what we faced here was that we collected money via schools, or we also collected money, not only, but some parents paid via cash or check, which were collected via schools, and our delivery partners couldn't have access to their offices, so they couldn't go and get their checkbooks. They also couldn't get into schools to give the cash back to young people. On the top of that, our call center agents were also working from home, which meant that we couldn't collect bank details securely over the phone. So we had to find a quick solution to manually refund individuals at distance and at scale. So for this reason, we decided to utilize our existing Salesforce customer community that the parents already had access to. For some people who are not familiar with Salesforce Community Cloud, this is an online social platform for connecting customers, employees, and partners with each other. And then you can create different slides, platforms, help centers, forums, and basically you can publish your content there. So we used it to connect with our customers, the parents of the young people, to collect information necessary for the young people to go on program and to provide them with important updates. So how did we do it? So what we did is that we created a new object in Salesforce to capture bank details, which was then linked to a refund case, and it was also linked to the application opportunity. Then when the parents logged into their community after they were sent a link, they were able to provide the bank details in the community. So for that, we were using authenticated logins because we were handling sensitive information. And so we didn't use guest access where we wouldn't know who is who. So the parents logged into the community and they provided their bank details, and that details were written back, encrypted to that bank information object. And the information there, like the bank details, were then screened by like security permissions. That's only people with those permission sets were able to access those bank details, and then they could process the refunds. And now I'm going to pass it to JP to talk about how we used cases to record those bank refunds.
Yeah, thank you, Trophy. So yes, so what we found ourselves in a situation, we needed to understand how these refunds were actually being processed. We also were having to track parents' preferences in terms of did they actually want a refund or not. We did have situations where parents were saying, actually, we'd rather donate to a cause than actually have our money back. We'd actually prefer to leave the money with you and physically just have it slotted for the next NCS event when things were going to be possible. So there was this feeling of continuation and just NCS will continue, so we can actually slot you up for our autumn delivery or possibly 2021. That meant we had to keep a track of people's preferences because, again, the other thing we found was that people changed their minds as the year progressed. So at one point, someone might say they want a refund. Later down the line, they may decide, actually, no, just please donate it somewhere else. And vice versa. They may have actually asked, please, can we actually just slot it in for next year? But then suddenly they need the refund. So to service our parent guardians for the young people that we work with, we had to make sure that we always knew what the preferences were via marketing cloud links and communications we're sending out and updating cases with just very basic field values. The refund cases as well we used just to track how a refund was going. Had it been requested? Was it being processed by the partner? Had it been completed? Because we could then go back to the particular PG and say, your money is coming, it is all locked in, everything is okay. Or if there were problems, being able to go back to that parent guardian to say, there was an issue, can we please investigate this further? So we use cases as well out of the box just to really facilitate a lot of that communication with end users, the parents and the young people, as well as our internal caseload queues for the actual staff trying to actually deliver these. We had to remain agile. As I mentioned, there was a lot of changing of behavior in terms of what parents wanted, but actually because of the lockdown, there were different rules coming to us week on week, month on month about what we could do, what we couldn't do. So we would implement a change and then realize that actually something has changed, so we'd have to go back and add something else. We kept things as simple as possible in our Salesforce org using field values, new pick lists, just on our existing opportunity pipeline product group, and physically just actually moved our way through using the existing objects and the existing fields where possible, or just updating those fields with a new value to mark for COVID-19. We can now report on that, or a new field that means we can actually track all those refund cases. The final bit, tracking event attendance, what we also found by the end of the year, we'd moved to very much of a digital variety of programs for NCS. We weren't able to actually have all the outside events, the on-site events. We were working digitally. Now, as I've said, we've used the opportunity pipeline. We were using products to track our programs and show what people were attending. Now, given the speed of what was happening, we weren't able to use the existing products to actually facilitate these digital deliveries. So we faced a challenge of how do we track the young people attending these? How do we know who has actually done what? So we can actually at least support them and go, congratulations, you've still done NCS. What we found there was campaigns. Campaigns are a really core out-of-the-box functionality of being able to track contacts, who we had as the young people, their accounts, which was their households, their homes, and actually who was attending what. So using campaigns facilitated a very quick and easy way of delivery that, whilst we actually kept our core programs and products. There we go. Back to Sophie.
Yeah, so of course we learned some lessons along the way. Like, for example, that it definitely took longer than 2 weeks to get everything right, even though we managed to have our network able to work remotely and also internal staff working away from the office like very quickly, and we managed to do it very securely and safely, and it was a huge success that we managed to do it and get it right like very quickly in the first couple of weeks. But obviously, like as the landscape of COVID has changed, we faced fresh challenges. We are still facing new challenges until today. So we never once felt relaxed or we feel that we had done enough. And the other important thing that we learned is obviously like communication. So communicating with everyone and letting everyone know like what's happening in a constantly changing environment is the core place where you succeed or where you fail. So we needed to keep our young people and their parents updated about what's happening with their programs, and also our users, our partners, delivery partners who are responsible for running those programs, updated on our latest changes, like the new functionalities that we are releasing, the new processes. So it was very important to keep communicating to everyone very regularly. And if we have ignored to communicate either of these groups, would have failed everyone. Also, we learned that this Salesforce is a great platform. So we talked about how easily we managed to utilize already existing functionalities and to make small configuration changes and be able to manage to refund like more than 40,000 people and collect details and keeping information safe with Salesforce. And it was really important also to break the big things down. So like we faced a lot of like challenges and we had to deliver everything quickly, and we had to had a lot of big things going on, like massive changes. So the only way to succeed was to break things into pieces. Like for example, with the refund, like we had to refund like 40,000 people, but we managed to break it into pieces. So we were focusing on refunding those people who pay by card because we already had a process for that. And we managed to do that first. And while we were doing that, we could focus on building the processes to be able to give the money back to those who paid by cash and check. If we were trying to do everything at once, we would have failed to meet our target very easily. And it was really also like important to expand like customer service beyond contact centers, because as I already said, like our contact center agents were working from home. We had limited resources. We had way less capacity than we would usually have in a normal operation. And we had to find ways to provide customers information, and like the communities were a great platform for that, because we could connect with customers and have them find and provide information themselves securely without needing to call our contact center service, reducing the pressure on them. And yeah, now I think it's back to you, JP.
Thanks, Sophie. So yeah, one quick thing that we worked on with our network was a checklist for both internally at NCS, but also for our partner network, trying to work through all the things that people actually physically faced and had to think about. Now, it wasn't an exhaustive list. We didn't cover absolutely everything. We tried to actually work on standard principles like, is someone going to be able to actually work from their home? Right, okay, is their broadband set up correctly? Are they actually used to taking and receiving calls when they're actually got their family around, or they're in an environment where it's not as secure as it should be? Are they handling sensitive data? How is that going to be handled? The changes in access as well, our information security team were very much focused on making sure that actually the actions that people performed in the office actually were different from what you could do at home, simply because these were not as safe and secure environments to be handling data, talking to young people about sensitive information. So we had to restrict a lot of people's permissions very quickly to say, you're used to doing 10 things in your job. At this moment in time, you're only going to be able to do 5, and we will work with you on how to actually manage those other 5. Administration of staff, the mass furloughing, as I said, we had to be on top of user bases, joining, ending, coming back, changing a lot. So there was a lot of flux and change there. Personal identification information. People have a habit of using people's names, referencing people in emails, in content, and they working from home, they possibly weren't thinking as focused on, is this actually still secure? Is this okay? So using IDs to make sure the fact that if we're talking about someone of a young age, about a certain sensitive subject, whatever, we purely used encrypted or IDs only in any sort of communication. Data breaches, they do happen. Someone did something, someone left or a run off a report, someone accessed something they shouldn't do. So we had to make sure the fact that our information security team on top of knowing who did what and when and how did we actually facilitate that being sorted and make sure the fact that everyone was safe and secure as possible. Again, destruction of sensitive information. A lot of colleagues are used to printing off reports and such and then shredding them, but actually who has got a shredder at home? So we had to manage how do you actually work on, if any, you've got to get rid of sensitive information, what should you do? Information security reporting, again, definitely had to make sure that our reporting, well, we do have Einstein and also base Salesforce reporting, but we were tracking a lot of the movement, the staff movement, data being accessed, who was actually extracting what, just so from a secure perspective, we knew what was going on. Oh, hold on. There we go. Back to you, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, just to sum things up about like all the things that we talked about. Like obviously it was a very difficult year last year and it's still difficult, but there are a lot of things that we are celebrating. Like for example, that we managed to get the money back to the parents in time of a financial uncertainty. We managed to quickly transition everyone to work securely from home, which meant that like partners on delivery. And we managed to do this by coming together as an organization and working together with our partners. And we still managed to deliver great content to the young people. And also we managed to do that while keeping a sense of well-being and safety in the forefront in everything we did.
And if we look at the quick actions that Salesforce enables us to take as a platform, an organization, we were able to have instant communication with our users. So Chatter, fantastic for that. The management of sensitive information, we will be able to be on top of restricting people's access to this and then letting that be opened up on a case-by-case basis. So only people who should have access to that were able to then access it and do what they needed to do. User management, again, keeping on top of administration of users, we definitely Salesforce was fantastic for. An alternative sign-up process for delivery. So we were used to using the opportunities and program products. Now we had to switch that. We found the campaigns worked like this. So with a little bit of tweaking, that worked as well. That was a really fast turnaround. And then collecting payment information. We had not at this point ever had to deal with dealing with banking information, holding of that level of very sensitive and secure information. The ability to get that and get the trust from parents to say that this will be okay to get from them, and then also hold that and transact that through to the finance people who needed it. So again, that was a great win for Salesforce to enable us to do that. And that is from office to couch. Just going to basically say thank you again for attending this session. We're going to open up in a second just for Q&A, any kind of help we can give you. As I said, we will be letting these slides be available afterwards, so you can always come back. You can reach out to us directly as well for any follow-up questions as well. But it has been an absolute pleasure as well presenting to you today, so thank you very much. And also great thanks to our support staff, Raksha, who has kept us on track and enabled us to be here and do what we needed to do. So a huge thanks to you and everyone else who's actually helped us do this.
Thank you, JP, and thank you, Zofia. We do have two questions, one being asked by Mark and Calipio. I'm sorry if I've said your name wrong. Please, if you could kindly answer those for us, that would be really good. Thank you. Mark, one is the first one.
Yeah, so
Yes.
now, do you want to?
So Mark,
Who would like to go first?
I can read it out. So with all the changes that occurred in the UK, did you offer anything like office hours at NCS? If so, what was the uptake of that like from your users? But I don't really know what do you mean by office hours. Maybe it's a different term, or maybe I don't know whether you, JP, know.
Not
What
not
do you
FA with
mean?
office hours, but if it's actually a way of working, as in staff specific, actually going to be available or not. What we offered in NCS, we're a Google platform, so everyone has got shared calendars. So we're actually very much more on top of working hours there. However, what we found with Teams, we're actually working on schooling hours when people actually needed to be away to actually just help with their children with the homeschooling and such. So we just actually worked principally with calendar items and Teams managing that internally rather than anything linked specifically to Salesforce. Hope that helps, Mark.
And
the next one was, can you tell us more of what precautions you started taking security of sensitive information beyond permission sets and profile access? I'll kick off.
Before you start that, I'm very sorry to stop you, JP, for this. Mark has replied for that. Office hours at the time of the admin to be available, where people can be dropped in and get support during those set times.
Yeah. So like what? Sorry.
Lady.
No. So I just wanted to say, like for like our partner network, like we hold like bi-weekly like drop-in sessions. So like if they needed any support, like this was the time when we gave them updates like face to face, like where our plans are and where we are with releases and what are the things that are coming up, and they could ask us questions and ask for support besides like using the chatter groups and raising cases. Yeah.
Thank you.
You want to add anything?
No,
JP?
I think you did that beautifully.
Sorry, could you carry on with the Kelly Lopes answer, please, if that's possible?
Yep. So we're looking at what security measures did we take in the case of sensitive data. Yeah. So as noted, yes, we use permission sets. We use a lot of permission sets already for user profiles. We identify areas of sensitivity, medical information about young people, age, birthdays, contact details. Now, what we did initially with governance, we physically removed access to this from everyone working from home straight off. So all people were able to access was the vanilla fields, which were in no way sensitive at all. What we then did with our user base was actually conduct a very quick but quite intensive survey to actually identify those key people that would have to still deliver and actually access that information. With those people, our admins and our support teams are able to identify them, release that permission sets after they had signed. We were using Adobe Forms at the time, but we moved to a Gmail form to actually say that they would follow proper data governance. They would actually follow certain criteria to actually work with that data and basically give sign off that actually they've got that security, which we then stored in the background. But from our perspective, we knew that we couldn't lock it out completely, but the ability to use that permission set down to a field level really helped us actually make sure that only the right people at the right time were ever accessing that.
Thank you. Kelly, I hope that was the right answer for you, and I hope you got some answers in there. If there is any other question, I'll quickly answer it for you guys.
Yeah, it looks like
I think that was everything.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you very much again for your time today. Please do go off and use your evenings, weekends, and such.
Afternoon, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good evening. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.